All right, that's enough time on Caulfield. Who's next? Victoria. All right, we can talk about Victoria Chase. If I did see one thing for Victoria Chase, it would definitely be a narcissistic personality disorder. A narcissistic personality disorder, NPD for short. Now, what are the signs of narcissistic personality disorder? Well, it's in the name. The symptoms you're going to see outside are grandiosity, right? I hope that's a real word. It's going to be an inflated sense of self and delusions to grandeur. Now, not full-on delusions, we have to talk about that when we come to Nathan, but these type of people typically have a way of tricking themselves or deluding themselves into believing that they are in a spot higher than the rest of society, that they are coveted, people are extremely envious of them, that they are entitled to things, that they shouldn't have to work or put in extra effort for loads and loads and boodles of special treatment. About 1% of the population suffers from narcissistic personality disorder, not full-on narcissism, but I can tell you, I've probably worked with someone like this, exactly one person like this at every job I have. Maybe two narcissists can't exist in the same place for too long, but that's the main thing we have to talk about with this personality disorder. Someone with narcissistic personality disorder may not be a true to form narcissist at heart. This personality disorder is actually characterized by internalized, completely shattered sense of self. You feel yourself as worthless, right? A diminished sense of self. And the way the subject makes up for this is that they try to inflate themselves from the inside, and then they surround themselves by people that actually fall for or conform to their narcissistic tendencies. So I was just talking about special treatment and entitlement. You may notice that Victoria actually sends, what's her face? Not Taylor, it's the fucking stooge. There we go. It actually sends Courtney out. Oh, we gotta put Victoria up here, actually. We actually do have to put Victoria in Irredeemable because of the stuff she does do in Life is Strange. You can have whatever going on in your life. If you can't feel remorse for almost making a girl commit suicide, I don't care if I'm on a good or bad pact for Max. That's up for Victoria to take ownership of. But yeah, you'll notice Victoria actually gets her stooge Courtney to do her homework for her like it's nothing. So she actually does just kind of expect Mark Jepson to accept her entry to the Everyday Hero contest above everyone else's because she's Victoria. And we actually do get to see a little bit of Victoria's insecurity. Max tells her that she doesn't have to act like this. She's good enough on her own. And she's told that a couple of times through the story. But you can see right after the incident with Jefferson, she's not completely furious that she's turned down, like I believe a real narcissist would be, because again, they're entitled. No, Victoria's kind of holding her head afterwards like, oh, what the fuck did I just do, bro? Victoria comes from a background where her mother tells her very explicitly that it's a dog-eat-dog world. If you aren't at the top, you may as well be on the bottom. What's the old saying? If you ain't first, you last. Let's see, desires worship, entitlement. Oh! One more thing, they're dismissive. Kate jumps off a fucking building, and all Victoria can think about is if her picture is getting accepted into the Everyday Heroes contest. Nathan is actually abusing Max with their interactions, but Nathan's Victoria's friend, so Max doesn't really matter. As long as the people who are giving her worship and adoration are alright, Victoria really doesn't care either way. Hostility towards criticism. If you don't be all goody-goody with Victoria at the very end and you try to stuff her face in the shit she just put on the metaphorical floor, she's not really happy about it. She gets super defensive and claps back against Max, despite everything Max saying in this bad route being perfectly fine. I don't think I actually have the footage for it. I guess I just forgot. I was so happy to get this game over with because Mark Jefferson's at the end of the game, so that's really where I want to be. He's like the only good character, or at least he's good to watch and listen to. Frank is too, but we're going to talk about Frank in Frank's time. So, Victoria, NPD, we're going to leave it at that. I'm ranting enough. Who is next? Hopefully I remember to edit out me taking a swig of water. So, if we were to describe David Madsen, we're just going to put him here, maybe here. Actually, after the end of the game, we're going to put him here. No, we're going to keep him here, actually. So, This is the definition of a bearable person. Maybe I'll move him up or down depending on how I feel at the end of this conversation. David Madsen has a bad case of PPD, which is a paranoid personality disorder. PPD is defined by a general fear and or mistrust of the people around you. Now, the difference between PPD and general paranoia is typically just a symptom. You can say someone is paranoid, but that's typically in the instant. When it becomes to PPD, a paranoid personality disorder, that paranoia is going to exist in their day-to-day life. It's going to exist everywhere they go. It doesn't have to pertain to one topic in particular. Actually, PPD is actually a very a situationally topical ailment, because if you were just paranoid about someone breaking into your house, then you can double lock all your doors, close up, board up your windows. But when it comes to paranoid personality disorder, this person is going to find day-to-day conversations very suspicious. So, you might have seen Max coming out of the bathroom at the very beginning of the game. She talks to David. She tries to tell him, hey, I was just, I don't know, taking a girl shit or whatever her excuse was in the first game. But David immediately tries to pick it apart, even though something's wrong. Something's definitely off. But, yeah, David's not really having it. It's like, oh yeah, girls all use that excuse. And that's one more thing we're gonna notice about PPD. These people will, especially in stressful situation, misinterpret just about anything for hostility. You may see right in the middle of the game when Chloe is confronting David about all the cameras in the house, David doesn't really deny it. He just hammers down on the fact that he's in the right and reinforces that people are ganging up against him, right? But you girls always stick together, and I thought I'd realize when I'd been outflanked. It's kind of tragic because right before that, he actually talks about not wanting to fight. He doesn't want to pick fights with people. And I believe in the game he's also said he's going through therapy to see if he can even himself out for himself, Joyce, and Chloe. The last thing I want to talk about for PPD is that people who generally exhibit this are rather disagreeable. We're not allowed to say disagreeable anymore though, so I'm supposed to say competitive, and if I can't say competitive, then I'm supposed to say self-isolating. Let's just say David can be a I actually like disagreeable. I can be disagreeable at times, I admit it. But when it comes to personality traits, when you're disagreeable, that just means you usually take a solo route for dilemma and confrontation, right? That's not to say that he's constantly just arguing with people, but a very agreeable person is a very cohesive person who works for the harmony of the group. So a disagreeable person is someone who typically works less to destabilize the group and more for their own self-interest. And this makes sense for a paranoid, because if you believe that there's a chance that people can turn against you, typically you're going to keep to yourself. Paranoid people don't even typically don't even confide in others, not even their spouse, which again, it's really good for David that he's reached out to Joyce and they're getting therapy together for Chloe. So out of all the characters on this list, oddly enough, David might actually be the most healthy. And even though he doesn't set a constant example, he still sets a pretty good example for people, not the people around him obviously, but people going through his I guess paranoia in general. And we're gonna leave that at that. Oh boy, do we have some stuff to talk about now.